Cody Bellinger finally made a deal with the Cubs, signed an $80 million, 3-year deal with an opt-out every single year. So it seems like a good deal for both sides, right? But what are your thoughts on this opt-out in his contract?
So he's back. And I remember it was a few weeks ago. I think you asked, like, can the Cubs make the playoffs or can they win the division? And the answer was, well, they can if they sign Cody Bellinger. This was a necessity, in my opinion, for the Chicago Cubs. And they got it done. 3 years, $80 million. It always kind of felt like Cody was going back to the Cubs, especially once Soto ended up happening with the Yankees. It just felt like this was going to happen. And it was just a matter of, like, who was going to wait out who longer. You had Boris with Bellinger, who wanted a long-term deal. You had the Cubs, who didn't want to pay him what he wanted. So 3 years, $80 million. It goes $30 million, $30 million, $20 million for that third year. And as you said, Alex, there are those 2 opt-outs after the first 2 years of the contract. 30-30, opt-out with each of those, and then 20 for the last year.
So obviously the Cubs needed this. They needed his bat. He was such a difference maker for him last season. So when you look at this Cubs kind of projected lineup now, how strong are they? Are they as strong? Do they have a chance?
Yeah, I think so. If you're watching, you can see the lineup in the wall. I like this a lot.
Yeah.
So it goes. What we're thinking is Nico Horner, Ian Happ, Dansby Swanson, Cody Bellinger slots in there at 4. Seiya Suzuki, Christopher Morel, Michael Busch, a new addition, Yan Gomes, and Pete Crow Armstrong. Look, Cody Bellinger this was a necessity for the Chicago Cubs. If they want to compete this year, and not compete, I think they're going to be a good team. I think PCA out there in center field is the future. I think this just gives so much flexibility to the lineup. Do you play Cody Bellinger in center field? Do you play him at first base? Do you DH Michael Busch? Do you play Michael Busch at first? What do you like? And this almost allows so much flexibility. The way this deal is, I like it a lot for the Chicago Cubs. And you ask about the opt-outs.
Yeah.
Why are there the 2 opt-outs after the first 2 years? It's kind of weird to see that. Well, to me, the knock on Cody Bellinger was, okay, the Cubs took a flyer on him and paid him 1 year, $17 million because he was a former MVP, but he had not been good for the years coming up to that signing.
Yeah.
So he has one really good year with the Cubs. Well, the knock for me is, are you going to pay this guy for all of those years and all of that money that he wants after 1 year? It almost feels like I would want to see that proven a little bit more. This allows you to not pay that, 8-year, $200+ million contract to the guy. And it's like, hey, go prove it again. We'll give you a high AAV, which is $30 million for the first 2 years. And if you have another year where you hit over 300 and have an OPS over 1,000 and you're exactly what you did last year, hey, opt out and get you that long-term deal. But for right now, we'll give you this. And it feels like a deal that allows him to go prove himself again and again. And if he does, then he's going to go get paid. And if he doesn't, then he can opt in for his contract next year and make $30 million again. I do really like it for the Cubs because they have a lot of upcoming prospects. One of those guys being a guy that we have in this projected lineup, Pete Crow Armstrong, who I believe is the center fielder of the future. It just allows a lot of flexibility because Cody can play center. He can play corner outfield. He can play first base. He can obviously DH if you need him to. So it allows you to not sort of jeopardize the future prospects that you have coming up in the organization while allowing you to be competitive this year and not breaking the bank payroll-wise going forward. So it's a 3-year deal for $80 million with those opt-outs. I like it for the Cubbies a lot, and it's kind of, for me, a contract for Cody. It's like, go prove it. Go out and prove it again, and then you can get that massive contract that I think you want.
And when you look at the NL Central, right, you got the Brewers, the Cubs, the Reds, Pirates, Cardinals. Personally, my sneaky faves are the Reds with Elly De La Cruz, but with the Cubs securing Cody, do you think they are now a favorite in the NL Central?
I think for the Cubs to be competitive and to win the NL Central, Cody Bellinger was a necessity.
Yeah.
And I absolutely think that they can win the NL Central. I think there's a few teams that win the NL Central. But If I were right now to pick the winner of the NL Central this year, I don't see how I'm not taking the Cincinnati Reds, man. Look at that rotation. Is by far the best in the division. If everybody's healthy, and even if they're not, the depth there, you can say if everybody's healthy about any team. If everybody's healthy in this rotation that has Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Frankie Montas, Graham Ashcraft, Andrew Abbott, and a new addition, Nick Martinez, well, that's easily the best rotation in the NL Central. Now, yeah, you can tell me that the St. Louis Cardinals have the best offense in the NL Central, and I would probably agree with you there. But if you were to tell me that the Cincinnati Reds at the end of the year will look back and say that they had the best lineup in the NL Central all year long, it wouldn't shock me. The thing is, it's a team that is very young with a lot of unproven guys that started to prove themselves last year and now have a full season that they can get under their belt. Let's not forget, the Reds didn't call up Christian Encarnacion Strand and Elly De La Cruz until the latter half of the year. So now you get Elly, a full season of Elly, who's not going to come up and hopefully put all the pressure in the world on himself. You get CES. You added Jamer Candelario. You have a full season of Matt McClain. You have Noelvi Marte, a young 22-year-old big-time prospect. You have Will Benson. You just re-signed Jonathan India. You have Spencer Steer, TJ Friedl. So there's almost like, what do you do with this lineup? There's so many infielders. There's a surplus. There's depth. There's really young, exciting, unproven guys that I think we could look up at the end of the year and say the Cincinnati Reds were the best team in that division. And with that rotation that they have that is going to be really good, and a lineup that I believe can be really, really good, and a division that I don't think is very good, how are you not taking the Cincinnati Reds to win the division despite having the third best odds to do so? Give me the Reds in the NL Central. Thanks for watching. If you love flipping bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.